Hi everyone, it's Erica, aka ECR Horses 1901, and today we're going to talk about NaMoPaiMo and my experience taking part this year. Now if you don't know, NaMoPaiMo stands for National Model Painting Month, which was started back in 2017 by Jennifer Buxton of Braemare Saddlery. The idea is that you register on this website, which is just namopaimo.net. And there's an optional fee of only $2. And basically what you are pledging is that during the month of February, you will paint one model horse. There are no limits as far as what scale horse you choose, or how elaborate your design is, and participants are encouraged to paint more than one horse if that's feasible for them. The satisfaction of having a completed model at the end of the month is your prize. This is not a contest in any way, shape, or form. I wasn't new to this concept of completing a project in a month challenge. For a while, I was seriously into writing, and in that world, NaNoWriMo is super popular, which stands for National Novel Writing Month, and that takes place every November, in which participants attempt to write a 50,000 word manuscript in the month. I never actually took part because that didn't really jive with my writing style, but I certainly knew a lot of people who found that useful. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I do not have an artistic bone in my body, at least when it comes to things like drawing and painting. I appreciate art, I like going to museums and looking at it and all that, but as far as actually doing it, no way. And I guess I was surprised when I got back into model horse collecting just how prevalent customizing is. As in, it seems like something that most hobbyists dabble in to some extent, so I felt like it was something I had to at least try. Before NaMoPaiMo, I did actually complete one horse. I did hopefully I can actually show you this time, a rather basic leopard Appaloosa on this stablemate, following, roughly, a tutorial that's on YouTube by DJB Studios. Now, aside from the mane and tail, which I'm not going to show you any closer up, you can rewind if you want to look, those are rough, but I'm actually pretty happy with how this guy turned out. He's a straightforward paint job, but in my opinion, he was not terribly done, if I do say so myself. I decided pretty early on that I wanted to do NaMoPaiMo this year, and originally I thought I'd be signing up for Heather Bullock's February class on using oil paints to create black horses. Well, between work and the very lengthy list of supplies that I would need to buy to take part in that class, I got cold feet and ultimately decided not to enroll. Maybe in the future, who knows. So I had to do something else, and that something else was inspired by the Briarfest Special Run Dundee model from 2021, the Rainbow Leopard Appaloosa 7 Arts Surprise. This model is not exactly cheap when it comes up for sale, and I thought it would be just the right level of challenge. Yes, another leopard Appaloosa, but with the color gradients and all of that. So as February neared, I just had to find the model that I was going to use. Of my old carpet herd, there are a handful of horses that I consider too damaged to be useful even for scratch and dent type of show. Ultimately, I decided that I would use my very beat up classic scale Silky Sullivan T-Bone from 1991 to 1992. I thought classic scale would be a nice step up from a stablemate, and although the pose is quite different than the original cantering horse, none of the horses that I would potentially have been using were that similar, so it was decided. And here was the picture I sent in with my registration, because you do have to provide a picture, with my model primed and ready to go. The problem is, or was, there were already issues when I took this picture. It's not on the side you can see, but on the horse's far side. So, for whatever reason, although I didn't change the paint I was using or the technique, nothing, my first round of primer came out just fine on the one side, and a complete goopy mess on the other. Advice I saw online said to just sand down the thick parts and then hit it again with the primer, so that's exactly what I did. And what ended up happening to Silky Sullivan's far side is this mess. Yeah, that's... Again, my camera doesn't love picking up the horses, but I'm pretty sure you get the point. Again, this is compared to a relatively smooth and uneventful other side. And just one more time. And again, I did nothing different. Now, days were passing between each of these steps, and I knew if I had to choose a different model, it was going to have to be soon. So even though it's technically against the rules to choose a different horse, I had no choice, because I am not sure that what you just saw is salvageable, or if it is, I certainly don't know how. Therefore, it was back to square one of trying to figure out what model to use for my Rainbow Leopard Appaloosa. And I ultimately chose the model I got from the free table at last summer's swap meet, an old Smokey the cow horse that was a little bit gnawed on by somebody's dog and missing a chunk of mane. If you remember from my tier list or my tier ranking videos, I'm not a fan of this mold at all, and yes, I know he's based off an illustration, I have since seen it and all that, that's aside the point. But no matter what, I find his movement and his face off-putting, so I do not like him. But he was a body, and I thought if I could jazz him up, why not? Hoping for the best, I primed him without incident, further leading to my having no idea what happened with Silky Sullivan. And then it was time to paint. Now, I will show you the results in a bit. Honestly, this was a very straightforward process. I did it in parts. I did the red and orange one day, the yellow and green the next day, and the blue, purple, and pink after that. Then I went back and did the eyes and the hooves, and finally I went over everything with the second coat. Originally, I was planning to do masking around the spots like I did with my original Leopard Appaloosa, but the model that I was basing this off of doesn't have that. So I said, you know what, screw it, no masking. And so, without further ado, I present the final project. Is he perfect? No, definitely not. But I do think he is actually, for all intents and purposes, a reasonable facsimile to what I wanted. I ended up using a matte sealant on him. I know you probably expected glossy, and sometimes I wish that maybe I had used glossy. But I used matte, it's what I had, and he is very matte. I'm kind of second guessing that, but it is what it is. Now, will I continue to try customizing even though I am not very good at it? Maybe. My husband and I are doing the Spookology workshop at Briarfest, and it says it's good for beginners, but I'll test that. I will be amazed if I end up with anything that looks remotely like a skeleton on my horse. By the way, signing up for a Briarfest workshop was nuts. I originally had signed us up for the Fleabitten Gray workshop, which is honestly what I kind of wanted to do the most. But while it was in my cart, I had to check something, like I had to quickly go to another tab to look at a thing, and then came back. It was probably less than 10 seconds in total, and when I went to click pay, the spots were already gone. That was how fast it was. I think Spookology lasted a little bit longer just because that is a VIP only workshop, but man, people online were not joking when they said that workshop spots fill up fast, because yeah, they did. Well, that was NaMoPaiMo. You would think I'd learned to say it correctly by now. NaMoPaiMo. And that's all I have to say about that. This week for me is all about prepping for my live show that is this coming Saturday. I think I'm in good shape. I just finished my documentation yesterday or the day before, so later in the week I will print out my tags and start that whole process. Because my classes are only on the Saturday, there's a chance I will be able to put together a video about it for next Monday, but definitely for some point early next week. Until then, thank you for watching. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and/or subscribe, and I will see you next time.